they will not be associated in the process of legislation, number one, and at the highest level of policy decisions. They are barred from that. If you add these three things, it becomes the most advanced khilafah on earth. But each one pill of this, is very bitter to swallow. We have not been able to swallow it up till now in Pakistan. So what to speak of United States of America? But we have to work towards that end. Now, after these two ayat, we proceed further. And as I told you in the beginning yesterday, that a very big chunk of this Surah Nisa, it deals the affairs of the munafiqun, without naming them. In the end, they will be named also. But in the beginning, what we call ru'e sakhun, although they are not mentioned. But actually, these ayat are discussing the problems that were created or who were being faced by the munafiqeen themselves. But let us first of all know, who is a munafiq? Who were the munafiqeen of Medina at that time? There were certain people in Medina who accepted Islam. But they accepted not by thoroughly understanding what they are accepting. What are the implications of accepting Islam? If you are accepting Islam, you have to be totally obedient to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you have accepted Islam, you have to accept it the whole divine law. If you have accepted Islam, you will have to sacrifice your lives and belongings and money for the cause of Allah, for jihad in the way of Allah. These are the implications of accepting Islam. People who understood it, those who accepted it at the face value, there was no problem with them. When they have decided, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَىٰ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةَ. We have already sold ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this life doesn't belong to me. It's a sacred trust of Allah with me. Whenever He demands, I'll just give and lay down my life. Now all that I possess is not my property. I have sold it to Allah, already sold. إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَىٰ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةَ. Now I'm only a custodian. Whenever Allah demands, I'll present it. Now there's no problem for them. But there were people who accepted Islam only because the whole clan or family or the tribe has accepted. So why to remain separate? Go ahead. You also accept Islam, embrace Islam. Or in an only emotional way, something strikes to you, oh, it's good, I must have it. But you are not looking to the implications. What does it mean? What you will have to do after this? But in that, a flooding of emotion, you have accepted it. But now when the implications come, they waver, they tremble, they start, they are oscillating now. Muzabzabina baina zalik, la ilaha ulai wa la ilaha ulai. ईमान मुझे रोके है तो खींचे है मुझे कुफ्र, काबा मेरे पीछे है, कलीसा मेरे आगे. What should I do? I have become Muslim. Well, now I'm required to go to fight in the way of Allah, risking my life. Oh, it's not an easy job. Every day the Prophet is saying, "Anfiqu fi sabilillah, anfiqu fi sabilillah, anfiqu fi sabilillah." Oh, but this wealth is very dear to me. I can't part with it. Now what to do? So there were certain problems for them. And these peoples were oscillating between kufr and iman. We shall find, this ayah, very beautiful ayah, in the later sections of this very surah. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا ثُمَّ كَفَرُوا ثُمَّ آمَنُوا ثُمَّ كَفَرُوا. They were oscillating between iman and kufr. Going 2 steps toward iman, and then 4 steps this world. So that there are 2 steps towards kufr. Now they are oscillating between kufr and iman. Muzabzabina baina zalik, la ilaha ulai wa la ilaha ulai. They were the munafiqs. But still this disease, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also calls it a maraz, fi qulubihim maradun, fazadahum Allahu marada. This is the disease. This disease was progressing gradually. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the beginning, He is not naming them, not pointingly, bringing them to the eyes of the society. But the problems, they are discussed here. Later it will be made clear who are they. Bashiril munafiqeen bi anna lahum min Allahi azaban azima. Now, give these glad tidings to these munafiqeen. These munafiqeen, glad tidings, that for them there is a very painful chastisement. So, but that will come in the later sections. Here, now identify please three problems, main problems. The first problem for these munafiqeen was, how come we have to obey Muhammad in every matter? It's not an easy job. Like, I can't sacrifice my ego. Who's he? He's also a human being. In every matter, I have to obey him. Number two, going to qital, hard, not ready. Number three, and this was not for the munafiqeen of Medina, this was for the munafiqeen elsewhere. When you know hijrah was made compulsory, because now after hijrah, because the Prophet had to take an initiative, a final offensive against kufr, because the center of kufr was Makkah at that time. Now he had to have the offensive initiative. And for that purpose it was necessary that all the Muslims from all tribes, from every hook and corner of Arabia, they should converge at one point, so that the whole force is there available for the advance now. So it was made imperative, compulsory. You have to migrate, you have to immigrate to Medina. Now people who were at Makkah, for some of them it became very hard to leave their homes, families. They had accepted Islam, but they were not ready to part from their families and tribes. And that was also the case of other people from other tribes. They were scattered to breadth and length and, of the Arabian Peninsula. Now to leave their families, to leave their tribes, to leave the land of their ancestors, where, their ancestors were being buried. How can I leave? How can I go? So that was the third problem. So these three problems will be discussed now in the coming ayat. Let us hastily finish the first. أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ يَزْعُمُونَ أَنَّهُمْ آمَنُوا بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. Have you not considered, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the case of those يَزْعُمُونَ, who think, who claim, أَنَّهُمْ آمَنُوا بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ, that they have come to believe in whatever has been sent down to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ, and also